Hello, everyone. My name is Victor Brown, and we've got Genesis, Estrella Kicho, and we are here today to talk to you about creating a remarkable resume. This is the Student Services and Student Employment Services Department of Southwestern College, and I am the Student Employment Services Specialist. I specialize in helping students find jobs and employment, and this is Genesis. Amazing Genesis. She helps with connecting students to internships, job developing, you name it. So we're going to talk about how to help you create that winning, that remarkable resume to help you in securing that job. Today we're going to cover what is a resume. We're going to do an employer study and how also to make your resume stand out. Some great tips and some examples of a resume. And then we're just going to continue with that and address some concerns.
All right. So the resume is a marketing tool that describes who you are, what you've done, and how well you match the qualifications of a job. I think it's important to know that the resume is a part of your overall branding efforts. It goes along with your cover letter and your social media presence like LinkedIn. And so it's a great way to establish your personal brand and to market your skills and your education and your experience for the positions that you seek. It highlights your professional growth and your accomplishments. And overall, a resume is really there to help you obtain an interview. I want to talk a little bit about the purpose of a resume. And yes, the resume is a marketing tool that describes who you are and what you've done. But that last piece of this sentence is the most important to me. And it's often the one that's most forgotten about. And so yes, it's a marketing tool that describes who you are and what you've done. But what's most important is how well you match the qualifications of the job. So I want you to remember that your resume is there to help us identify how you match the qualifications of the job. And because of it being able to help you match the qualifications of the job, that in turn helps you obtain the interview, okay? So let's take a moment and let's talk a little bit about the basic components of a resume. Think to yourself, what do you think are those sections that are most important to include on your resume? Of course, there is the contact information, the objective or career title. We also discussed your skills and qualifications, your education, and your experience. And the resume is really designed to flow from top to bottom, each section showing your relevant information that can help a manager find out why you're qualified for the position. So while contact information, career title, skills, qualifications, education experience are important, you might have some additional or optional sections like community involvement, professional organizations, things like that, that may also help you in ultimately moving to the next step of the hiring process, which is the interview.
So right here, we have a template we're going to go over. It doesn't have any direct content, but we wanted to show you something that has the basic components of a resume. So first, we've got your contact information. It's where it says at the top, your name, address, city, zip code, phone, and email. With the address, you could decide personally if you would like to just place your city, state, and zip code as opposed to your direct address. Sometimes people also use PO boxes, so that's awesome as well. And your phone and email. This is very important. You hate to give away a great resume and has no way of being contacted because you forgot your contact information. So it's small, but it's very important. So we'll start with your contact information. Resume is a part of marketing yourself and your marketing materials, so you want your name to stand out. Use a large font such as 16 or 18 font. And other things to consider is listing your address and your phone number, which we mentioned. Make sure that's a phone number that works that they can contact you directly, or your best number. An employer wants to be able to reach you when they call you. And also with your email, that's very important that you use a professional email, not Johnny's best friend 23 at yahoo.com or anything that doesn't have your direct name in it. A part of your branding, you want them to see your name. So even if you make an email, go to Gmail or Yahoo and make it your name. My name's Victor Brown. So if I did Victor A. Brown 238 at yahoo.com, or Victor.Brown, or Victor Brown's taken. Maybe you have a common name. So using something and putting some numbers at the end of it. But it's really important that you have something that's your name as well.
Can I just chime in here, Vic? I think
Definitely.
also with the phone number, I think what's really important is that it's one, a number where you can be reached, but also you're not listing like 2 or 3 different numbers, like a home number and a cell phone number. Just give them one number. They shouldn't have to feel like they have to chase you in order to get to you. And oftentimes I know a lot of us now are just using like the standard voicemail that's on your phone. I always say really record a voicemail so that they know that they actually got in touch with you and they're actually leaving a message for you and not some wrong number.
It's very, very important. Definitely make sure you do that. And then we'll go to the next part, the career title and bolded skills. If you're going for administrative position, it's awesome to put, even if you have experience, administrative professional right at the top. So they know not only the job you're applying for, but that your resume is catered to that. So this is important, as well as making sure that you market your skills that relate to the job. So for where you see career title, it says key skill related to the position you're applying for, making sure that those are skills that are related to things that they're asking for in the job description. So if they're asking you they're looking for a clerk that can handle or that has worked in Word before, making sure you put that skill if you have it, making sure that it relates to the skill that you're to the position that you're interested in. A couple of things with that as well. It's important that it identifies a certain job title or industry that you're interested in, and that these skills match not only the position, but things that you've done, things that you can show. Use some keywords or phrases that are in the industry as well, such as if you're in accounting, that you go ahead and use some of the phrases that are used as well. We can go to the next part. An objective. So sometimes you see objectives, sometimes you don't see objectives, sometimes a summary of qualifications, but an objective, a good objective, talks about seeking a sales, this is a good example, seeking a sales manager position where I can utilize my marketing knowledge and educational background to increase profits and make a positive impact on organizational skills. So you're using an objective that speaks about your positions, where you want to go, but also talks about how you can benefit the company. Not just, I'm looking for a position where I can utilize my skills in a company that helps me for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do something that's going to reach out to the manager, where it says, utilize my marketing knowledge. That's a skill that a manager would want. Educational background to increase profits. That's something that individual would want. So making sure that your objective connects your skills to what you're not only you're looking for, but what the manager's looking for, the hiring manager is looking for as well.
Great point. I'd say that, oftentimes when I have seen objectives, they're really generic, right? There's just like, I'm looking for a position in which I can use my skills and experiences, and not even any specific skills or experiences, right? And as a hiring manager, when I've been in the position to hire, that tells me that the person is applying to every job under the sun and they don't really care about this position. So be really clear there. I love that feedback you gave there, Vic.
Definitely. So with your education, it's really important that you place your education and make it bold for where it says the type of degree, especially if your degree relates to the position. Make it bold, Make sure it's nice and easy and plain. You can even put relevant coursework. That also helps. Let's say that you are going for an office clerk, but your manager, your degree may be in biology, but you've taken some courses that related to the position you're going for. List some of those courses. Maybe you've got MS Word, or you've taken some courses that are related. Make sure you put those down as well. And then for month and year, if you have not graduated, it's okay to put expected graduation, the month and the year. That way they know you're in school and you're working towards it. So do not remove your education because you haven't graduated. I get that a lot from students.
Mhm.
No, make sure you put it there. That's something that you can market as well. That's really important. And then, of course, your professional experience. This is a section where you really want to show not only what you've done, but how it relates to the position you're applying for. So the experience section is where you want to list the things that you've done. Here's the meat of your resume. This is where you're going to tell the employer what your capabilities are based on what you've done in the previous position. With that, make sure you start off each word, each bullet point, and don't write a lot of sentences. Each bullet point, you can maybe do 3 to 5 depending on your position. Start off with the verb: created, presented, designed, wrote, an action that you did, instead of just words. You want to make sure that you catch the attention of the manager with things that you've done. Created, presented, wrote. Action verbs are really important. Make sure that there are things that express that you are active, that you are a doer, and that you accomplish. Describing your accomplishments, and then after that, explaining what you did and how well you did it. So that they're used, when you see these action words, looking at these key points, the manager will easily see what you've done and continue to move forward. You can also add other sections. And if you don't have a professional experience, or maybe you've got limited, you can add other sections like community involvement, professional associations, honors and awards, making sure that everything you say somehow relates to that job description or the requirements that they're asking for. Yes, you might have you might have done some great work, or you might have, been received some awesome award in the past, but if it doesn't relate to the position that you're going for, it may be best to hold it off and put some content related to you that also relates to the position that you're looking for.
Great. So now that we've taken a look at what structure a resume looks like, actually, let's go back a second real quick, Vic. When we look at this, right, we look at this presentation, this slide, I want you guys to know that what Victor and I are presenting here, just some basic sections on what you should include in there. We're not two people who will tell you your resume needs to look exactly like this. You need to follow this template, because the reality is employers see a lot of resumes, and if you ask 100 different employers, you'll likely probably get 50 to 60, 70 different opinions on resumes and what they should look like. But what's important is that the information that you include is there, and what it looks like is clean and easy to read. But one tip that we'll give you right now is, you can see we didn't use like a typical Microsoft Office template here, because employers see that all the time. So if you're really looking to stand out to an employer, my recommendation is to first stay away from those templates in Microsoft Word, because employers see them all the time. And then two, when you're working with it and manipulating it, they are often really hard to make it do exactly what you want it to do. So it's easiest, just create a brand new document from scratch, and you'll have much better luck with it. All right, so now let's go back and say, how long does it take an employer to review your resume? What do you think about an employer? How long does it take them to look at your document before they move on to the next candidate? What do you think? 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 seconds? We will see. In a study done by the Ladders, it did a quantitative study on recruiters on the job behavior, and they used some unique eye tracking technology where they were able to assess the eye movement and analyze where and how long a person focused while digesting the information on their resume. And what they found was 7.4 seconds was how long a recruiter spent on a resume on average. So some spent a little longer, right? And some spent less. 7.4 seconds. And I know that that sounds really short, and it is. It really isn't. And for those of us, as we put together our resumes, that can sound really disheartening, right? Because you're putting a lot of time and effort in your resume. But what this should point out to you is that they're not necessarily looking for yes. You can't really look for yes when you're looking at a resume. You're really looking for no in 7.4 seconds. So if they're looking at your resume and in 7.4 seconds, they can't figure out why you're a fit for the position, you're automatically going in the no pile. And so my recommendation for you is to spend a lot of time really looking at making sure you stand out on your document. Make a simple layout with clearly marked sections with headers that are most attractive. And I'm going to utilize what we see here on the left side of the screen. These two images, I know they're super hard to read for you, and that's okay. I think you can really get to see the content here. What you can see here on the left, the far left, is a document that has a ton of content, long sentences, really robust, big sections with a lot of text, okay? In the middle, right, we have this image here that has a little bit more design to it, clearly labeled sections, shorter sentences, things are bolded, a little easier to read. And what you find here with this eye tracking technology is the sections in red are where employers spend most time, okay? If it's darker in red, that means they spent more time there. But you can see on the image on the left, they didn't really even make it halfway through the document, right? They were done. They checked out because it was way too much information. But the section here in the middle, the document on the right here, they made it all the way down the page and spent more time down there at the bottom because it was a clean, easy to read format. So try to keep things simple. Lots of white space, it makes it much more attractive. But even in comparing these two documents, what you'll see is that the employers really spent more time on that top half of the document in both of these images. This one on the right they got all the way down to the bottom, but you can see most of their time is really spent on that top half of the document. So you want to make sure whatever you're putting at the top half is what makes you qualified, okay? Time and money for employers are really in short supply. And so I tell my students all the time that if an employer is looking at your resume, you're in a stack that of maybe 200 to 300, maybe even close to 1,000 resumes that they're looking at. And what happens is that position's open, so someone's got to do that work. So they're not only trying to fill the position, they're probably doing the work of that position that they're trying to fill. So they've got a lot of work that they have to do, but they have to recruit, and so they've got to get through this really quickly. And so 7.4 seconds is all the time that they really have. So what you want to do is spend time on your resume that really is a valuable use of that 7.4 seconds. All right.
So how do we make use of that 7.4 seconds? This is how. We make your resume stand out. You got to make your resume stand out to the employers, to the recruiters, the hiring managers. Those are going to reveal your resume. And there's 3 questions that you can ask yourself and make your resume. One, is it professional and attractive? Is it something you would want to look at? If you make the resume and you're like, I wouldn't want to look at this, then you should probably change it to make it look a little more professional, a little more attractive. If it's an eyesore to you, it's going to be an eyesore to the employer. Who is my audience? Did you write this thinking that you were writing for someone who knows you? Did you write this thinking that an employer that's in the field that you're trying to get to? Think about who's your audience. How will they see your resume? Do they see things that they want as they are looking for, looking to hire somebody? Do they find that in your resume? And then where is the proof? If you say you're an awesome person with amazing skills, where's the proof? And we're going to talk about that later also. So one, is it professional and attractive? To do that, limit it to 1 to 2 pages. You do not want a long resume. I'm telling you, as someone who's gone through and hired individuals before for companies, no, we will throw out that 3-page resume. So you want to limit to 1 to 2 pages. You want it simple, clean format that is easy to read. If it's not easy to read to you, you want to make some suggestions. You want to make some adjustments to it. No more than 2 readable fonts is good. Yes, it's your resume. You want it attractive, but it's usually not an art project. So you don't want it to be super pretty with calligraphy and all the most beautiful fonts. No, you want to make it easy, because an employer is only going to want to spend they're going to want to go as quickly as possible. And if they spend half of their time trying to figure out what everything is because you've made it look so much different with various fonts, that's going to take up time that they could have went through, and they're going to go on to the next. Make sure you have clear headings. If you're talking about education, make it bold. If you're talking about your professional experience, make it bold so that the employer knows right away. Bullets and not full sentences. Use bullet points. Maybe your objective, 1 sentence, your summary of qualifications, you're gonna make it maybe 1 or 2 sentences, but the rest needs to be bullets and not full sentences. Let's cut to the next. All right.
I was like, are you doing this one? So the most important part of the resume is the content and telling the resume who you are. But yes, formatting and design can play a big part in making a difference in that hiring process. So in thinking about that 7-second study where most folks spend their time is in that top half of your document, you're going to want to list the most important information first. And that's what we talk about when we talk about hierarchical formatting. Example, let's say you're applying for an accounting internship, but you've been working in retail for the and restaurants for the last 2 or 3 years. You might not want to list your experience first because you don't have a ton that are necessary related to accounting. You will want to list your education first because you're majoring in accounting and you've already taken some accounting courses. So that's what we mean by hierarchical formatting, is you want to list what you think is most relevant, most important to the employer first. Okay, so what do you want them, what's the most important things you want to share? Make sure you are sharing that first, and then the extra stuff towards the bottom. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna do a little game real quick, just so you can see what we're talking about, why it's important. So for this activity, we just need you to think of yourself. Think, you are the hiring manager. All right, we're gonna show you 2 examples, and we want you to look and you make the decisions regarding them. All right, so standing out with the resume, and these are continuing with the idea of format and design. We want you to think about how you stand out. We talked about with your resume, the contact information. All right, when you look at the top one and you look at the bottom one, which one looks like it will stand out a little bit more? Which one looks easier for the manager or hiring manager to read? When you look at it, the top one, it has the name, the address, the phone number, the email, all in the exact same font. You kind of got to read it like a book to figure out what if the manager's looking for the phone number, if the manager's looking for the email address. But the bottom one clearly makes it plain. Maria Lopez, this is her resume. Oh, if I need the address, I can look over there. If I need the phone number, I can look over there. Here's the email right in the center. It makes it nice and easy. If the manager's like, I just need the name and email, the first one, they've got to really read to find it. The bottom one makes it simple and easy to see. All right. So what we're going to do really quick is we're going to show you 2 examples of a portion of a resume. We want you to see, we're going to give you about 7 seconds. And we're going to ask you to look at it and see how much information, see how much content that you get from it. All right. So you got about 7 seconds. Look at it and we'll talk about it after. All right. That's 7.4 seconds. What did you get from that? Did you get the person's, what they were trying to do? Did you see any of their experience? All right. Was it hard? Was it easy to read? All right. Let's go to the next one. And let's try it again. All right. So as you can see, it was much easier to read on the second time. What we didn't tell you was it was the exact same information. The exact same information for the first example and the second example, simply formatted differently. That shows you how much your format, how much your presentation really makes a difference, really works wonders in making it easy for the employer to read and understand. With the first one, it might have been harder to see that the individual was a superintendent and their experience. But with the second one, it was clear and easy to recognize, as well as you could pick up some of the bullet points in it. So just making sure that your formatting is really well.
All right. So this next session is about who is your audience? This is really important. I think it's a big step that I think we as resume writers, right, as individuals who are looking to document what it is that we do and how we fit for a company, we often forget who is the audience. But I think that's really important. It changes the way that you communicate. I think it would be fair to say how you write your email, right, that you are writing to your best friend looks a little different than the email you're sending to your professor, right? If we're writing a book about animals, right? If Victor's writing a book for a class of veterinarian students, that looks different than a book I'm writing for preschoolers, right? And so the same is true about our resume. Who is your audience? You want to know, or you want to speak to what they want to know. You want to be able to answer the question, why am I telling my audience this information? What is it that they want to know? And keep that information on your resume relevant to that. I often tell my students, utilize that job description because it becomes the thesis to your resume, right? So you're trying to prove that you've got this job description. You are everything in this job description. We have to utilize it to help us in telling our audience that we've got what they're looking for. I look at this and I frequently say this, you and I have skills. I have a lot of skills, some of which are relevant to my job, others of them that aren't so relevant to my job. The job that I'm applying for may have some skills and experiences that I don't have, but I have some of them, if not a lot of them. And so where we look at our resume And how we write our resume is really meant to cater to where those two sections overlap. Not about everything in the kitchen sink that you bring to the table, but just where your skills and your experiences and your education meet the job details, okay? All right, so here's a typical job description. I want you to take a few moments here. Feel free to pause this video if you'd like also. Take a look at this job description, take a few seconds and read through it, and I'll read it through to myself as well. Great. Now that we've taken a look at this business administrative assistant job position, or this job posting, I want you to tell me a little bit about what are some of the keywords that you would highlight. Here are a few examples. You need at least 2 years of experience with strong customer service skills. You have to know Microsoft Office applications, especially Excel. You have to be able to communicate, coordinate effectively, work independently, work under pressure. This role is going to require you to do some administrative and clerical duties like filing and note-taking. They're looking for an associate's degree or at least 1 year of college with some experience, okay? So we're gonna circle back to this example, but I wanted to show you, this is how you use the job description to highlight what it is that they're looking for, and we can utilize that to really tailor our resume. Oh, Vic, you're muted.
So again, this goes with where's the proof. Incorporate industry words, tailor your duties and accomplishments towards the position, quantify your impact as much as possible. So you really want to do this with incorporating industry words. What are the keywords that match with the job description? So as we had just talked about, what are the keywords in the industry that match with the job description that you're looking for? Tailor your duties. So if you're an event planner, talk about what your duties and accomplishments were. Talk about coordinating or organizing schedules or methods you incorporated that increased event attendance. The more you can identify what you do and how your accomplishments are a good match for the position, the closer it gets you to an employer wanting to talk to you. And that's the ultimate goal, to get the interview. Remember, your resume is to help you get that interview. Quantify your impact as much as possible with numbers, percentages. So for example, going back to the event planner, show the number of companies or events per year that you planned. This gives a concrete example of your accomplishments and the impact you have. This will separate you from the competition. Maybe you were in the industry where you couldn't necessarily quantify exactly, giving examples, making sure that you're showing how many times you did something or how many years also, especially if you were in a certain field for multiple years. Yeah, they might see it on the side, but showing how long you dealt with or extensively your experience in it as well. So when looking again at this job description, 2 years, quantify 2 years of general administration experience. If you have experience of multiple years, make sure you would include it. Strong customer service skills. That's a part of the industry words and keywords that they're looking for. You'll make sure that you put some of those things within your resume if related to the position that you're going for. So look at the job description, see those keywords, those key quantifiers, those things that they're looking for. And if you have them, make sure you put it in your resume. And always look at the required skills. Always look at the required skills and make sure that any required skills that they're asking for, you make sure that you add them into your resume and make them clear, make them bold, make sure that's in a place where they can see it, and especially more closely to the top. Because as Genesis spoke about earlier, more employers stayed looking at the top. So make sure that it's bold and that's evident and that it's there. And then this is just another example with standing out as well. You have the sales associate, XYZ company. I always encourage people to make sure that they bold the positions that they've done, especially when they relate to the position. So here's just an example. It said, provide excellent customer service experience. This is also written as an example of a resume portion that can relate to what we just read. If you could go back really quick, Genesis. So this was the job description, and this next slide, it is an example of what someone would write. So as a sales associate, they worked at a company, they're applying for that position, a business administration assistant position. They wrote, provide excellent customer service by attending to clients' questions and concerns in an efficient manner. Communicated with customers, executives, and vendors regarding possible issues and resolutions. As you look over, they're starting with the verbs that we talked about: provide, communicate, coordinate. Coordinate multiple projects concurrently with little to no supervision. So they looked at the description. They said, oh, they're looking for these different things. Little to no supervision was in there earlier. Performed various administrative tasks such as preparing correspondence, managing calendar filing, organizing paperwork. Those different requirements and those things, duties that they were asking for, they made sure to include. You want the manager or the hiring manager or the recruiter to look at your resume and say, wow, I see so many things that I am asking for. Let them see what they're asking for, especially when you've got the skills in your experience.
I love this example that you're providing, Victor, because I think it's really easy for students to say, I don't have that experience, right? But this person had never been an administrative assistant before, but they were a sales associate, and somehow they found those transferable skills. They found what are the things that they were asking for that she was able to do. So this is great. I love this example. Even in roles that you don't necessarily think are related to the field that you're looking to get into, you still have ways that you can say, I've done work that is similar to this, for sure.
Remember, you can do it too. You can do it too. We're here to help.
So again, we covered 3 ways to make yourself stand out by asking yourself these 3 questions. Is it professional and attractive? Who is your audience? And where is the proof? And I'll tell you, you guys, I do exactly what we did today in today's exercise every time I apply for a job. I ask myself these 3 questions. I highlight the job description. I look at my resume and I tailor the words in the resume to make sure that they're standing out to the employer. And so I would send out lots and lots and lots of resumes. I remember when I first got out of college, I was sending hundreds of resumes a month and getting so frustrated that no one was calling me back. And it wasn't until I started to tailor my resume to the positions that I started getting lots of calls back. Today, I can say that almost for every position that I apply for, I get a call back for an interview because my resume is tailored to the positions that I'm applying for. So I want to go over some key takeaways. Make sure that you're getting everything you need out of this little video here. Remember, the ultimate goal of your resume is to obtain an interview. Don't just talk about your skills and your experiences, but make sure in order to obtain a video that you're making it relevant to the job description. Remember, employers will only spend an average of 7.4 seconds reviewing your resume. Make every second count. To make yourself stand out as a strong candidate, be sure to ask yourself these 3 questions. Is it professional or attractive? Who is your audience? And where's the proof? And remember, Victor and myself at Student Employment Services, we are here to help, and we can absolutely review your resume for you. If you have any questions or need any assistance along the way with your resume, you can feel free to reach out to Victor or myself at SES, for Student Employment Services, at swccd.edu, and we would be happy to help you.
Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video. We really appreciate you. Make sure to like and subscribe for more great content. And even if you don't go to Southwestern, still feel free to send us an email. Drop a comment in the box as well. We look forward to engaging with you. Have a wonderful day.
Take care, everyone.